Hi, welcome to It's an Arsenal Thing podcast. We are in the gun room and we're going to be discussing all sorts of things. But let me introduce the people on the panel tonight. We have a panel. We're going posh. We've got a point that way because I think that's where it comes out on the screen, goes in reverse. We've got Mitch with us. He looks about 15, but he's got the football brain of a 45-year-old. And underneath in the basement there, we've got Jay. How are you, Jay? A man of all reasons and seasons and whatnot.
Yeah, all good. All good, ready to go.
What about you, Mitch? Here you're going to the Emirates.
Yeah, I will be going to the Wolves game for my first time at the stadium. I'm really looking forward to it. And hopefully it'll be a great time. Hopefully we win. I would suck to go to a loss.
That's it, mate. You're going to be totally addicted then. It's just scrambling around for tickets.
I'm already addicted.
Right. Before we start, United were turfed out the FA Cup, which is always nice, isn't it? Let's admit that it was a nice and special day. Jadon Sancho looked impressive, I thought. It just goes to show with that match. I don't know whether the pair of you saw it, but the old adage about possession doesn't count for anything. It's goals. But they had something like 71% possession as opposed to 29%, and they just couldn't make it count. Leicester City were thumped by Nottingham Forest 4-1. Sorry, Stacey. In a dominant display, and some are saying don't feel too bad about our performance against them, which prompted on social media one person to say, give over about the Forest posts. We were crap against Forest, and today's result doesn't justify the result. Give your heads a wobble. And we'll come up to some opinion in a minute. Ben Bennett said, is it the same fans that wanted Rodgers that wanted to waste 80 million on Maddison instead of the 30 million on Odegaard? It doesn't put any perspective on our performance, was it? We were just not at the races, Jay.
No, it was a terrible performance. I went to that game because I'm from Nottingham, and awful. My son went to the Forest Leicester game with his granddad, and he said that Forest. I mean, I didn't watch any of the game, but he said that Forest dominated. It's. I don't know if you've had a chance to see a game or you've been to the City Ground in Nottingham. It's quite an intense, atmospheric sort of old school football ground, and it's probably on average about 30,000 there, and they cram them in, and it's a good atmosphere. It's a tough place to go, and they've recently got a new manager, and he's got them playing pretty well, direct, sort of uncomplicated approach to tactically to a football match. They play to their strengths, and they're a good side, and it's a tough game, and we didn't turn up that day, but it didn't surprise me, that result against Leicester, because we all know, we've all seen it down the years, big clubs, bigger clubs, higher profile clubs go to these grounds, and if they're not on it straight from the first whistle, and they're not committed, and they're not quite at it, then more often not they get beat, and the teams, the opposition from lower league want it that much more. So it didn't really surprise me. I mean, there were some ugly scenes, weren't there, from the supporters coming on, and I mean, what's all that about? Where were the stewards? I mean, you'll see, Mitch, when you go to the Emirates, you can't get near the pitch. It just doesn't happen. And like I said, the Forest Stadium's it's a bit tighter, it's a bit closer to the pitch, but still, how that idiot managed to get onto the pitch and get a few swings in at some of those Forest players was just a joke. But we didn't turn up that day, but it's a tough place to go, Forest, and I mean, I'm sure that they look pretty good, but Man United going out was always good. It's always pleasing, It's always a good thing.
Yeah, I won't cry about that. Did you see the Everton performance, Mitch, and this one against Forest? It was pretty crap.
I did not get a chance to see either of those matches, but
You did
with
well to avoid
Forest, but with Forest, like we didn't play well in our match against them. That was very clear. But like I feel both in our match and in the Leicester match, there was one really big bright spot, and it was Dejen Spence for Forest. We've been linked to him as a right back. I think he'd be a fantastic signing as a backup for Tomiyasu, or even just as a competition to put pressure on him. And way better than the options that we have behind him right now, which hopefully we don't get to see anytime soon. But with Tomiyasu's injury, maybe we will be seeing Cedric in our next couple matches, and that's
Has
not
anyone
exactly
heard the
ideal for
latest
us.
on the Tomiyasu injury? I haven't been able to find him.
From what I've heard, it's not looking great for him to play this Thursday against Wolves. Hopefully that means that Ben White will be right back and Rob Holding will come into right center back. I just don't want to see Cedric play for us. Unless we absolutely have to, I don't want to see Cedric. And if he's the choice, that just doesn't really make sense to me. I haven't seen a single convincing performance from him this season, and I've only seen a handful since he's become an Arsenal player. It just does not really make a lot of sense. Rob Holding can do a job when he needs to. I don't have a lot of faith in Cedric. So hopefully Tomiyasu's back as soon as possible. And if he's not, hopefully we see Ben White at right back and Rob Holding coming in.
It's as we were saying, isn't it? The levels behind the first team players drop substantially. I want to lead you on to, I don't know whether you saw it, the Declan Rice goal against Kidderminster and the old Michael Jackson celebration, which was quite fun. Would you like to see him in the Arsenal team? Could we afford him?
Yeah, he's a great player. He very rarely has a bad game. He's like super consistent, and he's come on so much. The influence he now has on that West Ham team and on like the overall performance of West Ham and the overall impact he has on a game is incredible. Really, they look like a completely different side when he's not in the team. Can we afford him? Well, we probably could. What he's actually worth, but in reality, he's going to go well above that, and he's going to end up at somewhere like Chelsea. Well, I think strong rumor is Chelsea, and you know they can outbid most. So, yeah, I think just going back to what Mitch said about Spence at Forest, you know he's the sort of level of signing that I think would be great for us. He wouldn't be too expensive, but I'm not sure he'd want to be back up. Because he's very much a big game player. I've got a few friends that are Forest supporters, and they said that he's a bit inconsistent. Spence, you know, from what we've seen, he's a top big game player. You know, turned up against us, was really superb against us. Again, really superb against Leicester, scored. But from what I can gather from some of my friends that go to the Forest season ticket holders, said that he can blow hot and cold. But there's no doubt there's a top player there, and I just can't really see him being a backup. But Declan Rice, I'd love him in that midfield. Love him. He's just the kind of player, you know, what a marquee signing he would be. But I think we'll just get outbid, you know, by
well, I
guns.
looked him up today on transfermarket.co.uk at 67.5 million, but I think that's where it starts, isn't it? It's not the end figure, because by no stretch. Mitch, do you like what you see with Declan Rice?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's not a lot that there isn't to like. Declan Rice is an insanely good player. 67.5 million is nowhere near where he's going to get sold for, though. Like, he's going to get sold for 100 million in that region. Can we afford him? Probably. Are we going to pay that? No way. He's a player that would only come to us if we were to qualify for the Champions League. That's a bare minimum to be even in the conversation. And I feel like striker has to be our priority if we're going to talk a big money signing. If we sign if we have two marquee signings in the summer, which I think is pretty likely, as at striker and center mid, our two biggest positions. The bigger one's going to be the striker. That is going to be the one where we splash the most cash on. That's going to be the one that we're like willing to go big on, like we were potentially with Vlahovic during January. I don't see that being center midfield. I don't see that being Declan Rice. As much as I would love Declan Rice to be an Arsenal player, he's a fantastic player. I don't think there's any way in hell we're getting him.
I mean, will we really need a marquee striker when, if Martinelli goes up front and he gets that lead role and it all works amazingly, surely we'll just need a backup for him, which may be Balogun.
Yeah, but that's just like a hypothetical at this point. Like we just have there's so many unknowns, especially when
I like a bit
to,
of
like,
hypothetical.
Yeah, I mean, like Martinelli's played striker for us before. He's played well in that position before. I think that what we're trying to do with the striker position doesn't really fit his skill set as well as it does on the left wing. Lacazette's far from a marquee striker, but he fits what we're doing pretty well, in being able to hold the ball up and link up play really well. I think we'll try to go for somewhat of an upgrade over him. My personal preference striker target is Jonathan David from Lille. I've been a huge fan of his for a long time. He's really good at what Lacazette does of holding the ball up. And then he's also good at what Lacazette isn't good at, of actually getting upfield, actually getting in position to actually scoring. I think of the strikers that we've
always key for a
linked,
striker.
that's a key thing that we've been missing for a little bit. And I think he's the perfect fit for what we're trying to do. The biggest knock against him is that he's only played in a front two as a strike partnership. So it's a bit of a jump to go from a front two to just a single striker. I don't think that's as big of a con as it can be perceived, especially with how we play our system as it is. Martinelli plays almost a left forward position as a second striker when we have Tierney bombing forward through the left. It's a very similar environment. Odegaard can move into that kind of like half space on the right, and it's almost I don't think it's the huge jump. And it's also, goals come from other places. It's not like, hey, we're signing you and you have to be all of our goals. You have to be what Aubameyang was for a couple of years, where he was our only form of attack for a decent amount of time. We'd be bringing him in. He would have a good talent pool around him of Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Martinelli, that are all able to score goals, as we've seen. And it wouldn't be all on him for the burden. And he's a decent finisher too. His expected goal stats are really good. He stays on pretty much the same pace for the last couple of seasons, just give or take a couple. So he's a pretty decent finisher. It's not like Timo Werner, coming from Leipzig to Chelsea, where he was just given chance after chance after chance at Leipzig, and then was getting way less at Chelsea, and his misses shown a lot more after working in a front two into that solo role. So it was a lot different of a system, and it was a way bigger jump up for him than I think it'll be for Jonathan David if he was to come to Arsenal. And I think he has a lot more experience in a more physical sense of play style by playing in CONCACAF for Canada. It's not as fast as the Premier League, but it's a very physical like way of playing the play styles in CONCACAF in the national team. So I think he does have a little bit of that experience. It wouldn't be like a completely jarring experience going from League One to the Premier League with that. And I think he would be an absolutely wonderful player for us to sign as a striker in the summer.
Jay, we're going to talk about the transfer window already for the summer, planning ahead, which I'm sure Arteta and Edu are. But it might have an impact because apparently we're minus 492 million. Staggering, isn't it? And it goes back to this mismanagement of contracts and letting people go for nothing. Will we be able to get around that? I know we're a big club in terms of finances and what we can generate, but will we be going into this transfer window in the summer with one hand tied behind our back?
I mean, sincerely hope not. You know, I mean, I suppose one of the real positives that we have to take is last summer was, you know, the Cronkies freed up a lot of money last summer, and they enabled us to, well, then it enabled Arteta and Edu to go and get who they wanted. You know, they weren't the players that many of us would have chosen, but they've all come off and they've all done pretty well. Some of them have done very well. So I suppose you take a you know, a bit of confidence from that. Look at the January transfer window. You know, we didn't sign anyone. We got some very high profile names off the out of the squad, off the wage bill. And you live in hope that it freed up some cash for, like Mitch said, like, you know, like a big name striker, and further, you know, additions to the squad. I think, you know, all this, you still have to remain positive. You have to look at last summer and look at it in a positive way. So, like we said last week, nobody knows what went on behind the scenes in that window. Nobody knows who we were really in for. Certainly not half the ITKs on Twitter or wherever you want to look. You know, they certainly didn't know. So you live in hope that all that cash that's been freed up will go towards some starters, because that's certainly what we need, especially going forward. You know, arguably we need two strikers that are ready to go straight off the bat, straight from the start. Not, you know, we've got the Ballagans, we've got the Martinellis, we've got the youngsters who can fill in or maybe be blooded into that role over time. We need, you know, because obviously Lacazette's going to be going and Ketty's going. We need two strikers that are of high quality to get cracking straight away, you know. And I think it's going to be, you know, it's going to be another couple of signings that maybe nobody's really thought of. You know, I don't know. It's a tough one because it's such a difficult position to fill, isn't it? You know, we're potentially going to have to take a punt on one and go for a proven on another, but really go for, you know, a Tomiyasu type signing who, you know, we might just have to, fingers crossed, get lucky with, you know. But I'm not, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Mitch, over to you.
I think the sustainability thing with how much money we've been spending and not a lot bringing in has been a worry for a while. And I think we're finally figuring it out. We're finally getting a signing method and getting, like, all of our signings from last summer were under the age of 22. If they're not here forever, we're going to be able to get fees for them. We're going to be like, we've been very bad at signing players. We've terminated a lot of contracts in the last year. We've been clearing out this deadwood of bad deals for old players. And we're now taking a new approach. We're signing young guys who can develop into something more that we can get fees for in the future, or they can develop into something that helps our team a lot. And we didn't sign them for 60 odd million. We signed them for 20. And so having this method and continuing with this kind of profile of player is going to be really key into building a squad that's competitive for a long time and keeping that squad competitive for a long time, and not just be like, all right, we're going to build up, have this one season of being good, and then we'll go back to being shit again. We're going to have this sustainability method of not, like, we don't have the money to be spending 70 million on a striker and then, oh, he didn't work out. All right, next summer we're going to spend 115 million on the striker.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have that kind of money. We can't, we're not a club that can do that. So we have to be smarter about our signings, and we haven't been, and we're finally doing it. We're finally spending money on someone like Martin Odegaard instead of giving a 3-year deal to Willian. It's been a learning process for everyone involved, for Edu, for Arteta, because they're all new into their positions. I think they're all been kind of learning on the job and young at this. And I think they're all progressing really nicely. and to hopefully what's going to be a sustainable transfer system for us for a long time. And then what you were saying with the second striker, I think that's just like a big question mark. I think the most obvious answer would be we hope Balogun has the loan deal of his life for the second half of the season at Middlesbrough. If he can, like he's shown flashes, like there was a game last week where he had an assist for the winning goal. He did a really, really nice job dropping deeper, playing the ball off, getting upfield, and then assisting the goal. That's exactly what we want. That's the kind of plays that we want from our striker. So if he's able to do that kind of stuff and prove that through in the championship for the rest of the season, then he should be in a serious conversation for that second guy, and then we don't have to try to recruit someone to be a backup, because it's very hard to do that. It's there was a report a couple weeks ago that we wanted like Isak and Calvert-Lewin, and it's like, how are you going to sign both of them? They're both starting caliber strikers that should both be starting. There's no reason why we'd be able to sign both. If you sign one, you're going to have to sign a younger, unproven, or like get a Alvaro Morata on loan or something. Like, and our system has, again, we want to be sustainable. We want to be signing these younger players that will develop, and that we don't have to terminate their contracts. That we have to move into that. Yeah.
Can I just add one more thing? It's important as well to acknowledge the massive change behind the scenes. You know, all those players that we've let go, you know, they were part of the previous regime. They were recruited by Raul, Sven, Gazidis. They were all part of that group, and ultimately, you know, the whole thing has become a bit of a joke and a bit another stick to bash the club with, right? And you see, you don't have to look far on social media, all the graphics that have been created, memes and whatever, about how we've, you know, spent all this money on players and got nothing back. It was all part, you know, and there's also the very, very public overpayment of Nicolas Pepe. You know, Leo quoted as, what was it, 50 million, and Raul said, we'll pay you 72, that kind of thing. And you know, that kind of bullshit mismanagement.
Yeah, but have you seen the size of his yacht?
Yeah, and then there was the Jarabchian, you know, the flirting with Jarabchian every 5 minutes. You know, you sign a Cedric and I'll deliver you so and so. Well, that obviously hasn't. We've distanced ourselves, thank God, from people like that. You know, and I mean, no right-minded Arsenal supporter can seriously say that the previous regime is better than what we're doing now. You know, nobody, not one person. Okay, there's going to be frustrations. However, this system and this setup is so much better, and it is so much more, like you said, sustainable. But it's also from purely a supporter's point of view. And I know we touched on it last week. When you go for players like Tommy, when you go for this new sort of new generation of or a new way of doing it, as a supporter, you get behind them more, right? I don't know, you know, you kind of you want them to do. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but you're behind them that little bit more, you know, when you see that they're giving them. When you've got a goalkeeper like Ramsdale, who very much, you know, plays with his heart on his sleeve, and you know, and then you've got Tomiyasu giving it all, and Ben White, and you know, these are likable guys like we touched on last week, and nobody can say that the previous regime, who grossly overpaid in contracts and transfer fees, you know, is better than the current way. So you know, we've got to get lucky, haven't we? We've got to get lucky in certain areas. You know, we're not going to have the money to compete with City or Chelsea or whoever, even Man United. You know, but we're going to have to get lucky in certain areas, and we've been lucky so far. So you know, you never know.
We're kind of touching on a question that Georgie Boy asked me this morning on Twitter. Yeah, well, I kind of think that it's been done in phases, and I think we've got another couple of phases to go, to be fair, because I think the summer, my own personal opinion, is I don't think we'll see more than two players. One probably a midfielder, or maybe they'll go for the two strike options. but I think we're going to start integrating with these players that are coming through the academy. That's the general idea. That's the vibe. And I think we're 2 transfer windows away from topping up what we've lost, finding out what we've got, and then we'll be able to move forward a little bit, really. But it's a long process. And as you both pointed out, there was stuff to do. And fans that are just sort of going, well, just go out there and fire out all this money. It doesn't happen like that. It's just not going to happen. Chaps, I want to put to bed once and for all the Aubameyang saga. Quite unbelievable this week. I mean, the overreaction to the exit reminded me of when Princess Diana died. He'd sort of been gone less 48 hours and supermarkets were running out of tissues and doctors were prescribing antidepressants.
Mitch won't remember when Diana died.
Well, look it up on a video. It's on YouTube, funnily enough. Yeah, I mean, that was insane. We'll just tell you what it was like. Princess Diana died. She was an iconic figure. She was a royal. And suddenly everyone ran out of flowers. Strangers were coming up to you saying, have you been up there? Have you signed a book? Have you bought any flowers? No, I didn't know her. But I kind of don't know where this overreaction has come from. Aubameyang said there was a problem with Arteta, which was a bit mean-spirited, and Arteta fired back saying about, having unity and spirit. It's all a bit sour, isn't it? I mean, he's gone. He was good for a couple of years. The last 18 months, in my opinion, he was absolutely rubbish. He was too predictable, as me and you have said in the podcast before, hanging out on the left, cutting in on the diagonal. And I think everyone got his number. And that's when he could actually be bothered, because a lot of the time he didn't seem like he was bothered at all. What's your thoughts?
There were things going on behind the scenes, as we all know. I think he had some personal problems with his mum. I think she was ill, or did she pass away or something maybe? And I think he contracted malaria, right? Or something like that, got COVID or whatever. So there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but you're dead right. He didn't perform. There's obviously a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. We know about some of them, the public ones, arriving late for the North London derby. And obviously the most recent getting a tattoo, and I'm sure there were many more.
I'll just jump in, Jay, and bring you up to date. I know someone who actually works around the Emirates, and he was kind of hinting. I had to kind of squeeze him to get anything, but he said there was a possible physical confrontation on the training ground, and an exchange of words. I'm not sure. Obviously, I can't say for sure. But apparently it was Arteta.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's a messy situation, and it's a shame that it ended like this, because it wasn't too long ago Aubameyang was absolutely electric, and he was one of the best strikers in Europe. And let's not kid ourselves here. We didn't make a mistake by offering him that contract, because every club would have offered him that contract. Okay, we've made mistakes, but I don't believe we made a mistake offering Aubameyang that contract when it came up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Sorry, something just popped up on the screen. Mitch, they paid 7 million to get rid of him. Money well spent, wasn't it? And also, it's quite quirky as well, because Barcelona have actually put €100 million buyout clause on him. He'll be 34 at the time of that. It's ridiculous, isn't it? So we've let him go for nothing, and they think they're going to get top dollar. Mitch, what's your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, we're saving a lot of money with the Aubameyang deal. We've spent 7 million, but we save a lot of his wages. So I think we save around 22 million. Which is great. That's good. And from just the personal side, I'm glad that we got this situation over and done with. I'm glad that we didn't have what we had with Mesut Ozil, where we had him sitting, just not playing, making more money than anyone else on the team, and just sitting and taking that, and just having the situation sour and sour more and more. I'm glad that we got it done. And it wasn't the greatest goodbye that we could get to Aubameyang. As one of my favorite players for a long time, it sucks that it had to end like this. But I'm glad that it is over and it isn't as drawn out of a saga. Regarding the release clause, I believe La Liga teams have to set a release clause for every contract.
Yeah.
So they probably just set it that. I don't think they expect anyone to pay that at any point. I don't expect that to be paid at any point. Weird that it's that high, but they've also set things in his contract where Barcelona has the ability to void his contract if he gets into any personal disruption issues like he did at Arsenal. They're not messing around with this. They know what they're getting into. Aubameyang has been a great player for a long time. I don't know if he's necessarily that anymore. I'm happy to root for him at Barcelona. I hope he does great. He seems like a great guy, and he was a fun character to have with Arsenal. But yeah, this overreaction on Twitter, people will always root for their own agendas. So if their agenda is that they don't like Arteta, this is just fueling the fire for them. This is, oh, I don't like Arteta, and Aubameyang left. Well, now this is a big deal for me. Aubameyang's the greatest player we've ever had, and he's a legend. And we need to get Arteta out because he pushed out this legend of the club, when none of those things are true. And
well, it's funny you should say that, because Jakesh sent us an email and said the term legend is used too often. Aubameyang was described as a legend. How do you become an Arsenal legend, and who do you consider an Arsenal legend? And I'll just add that people were crying out for the number 14 shirt to be retired on the strength of him going.
I mean,
bizarre.
No, not a legend, not for me. He was quality, he really was, but he like you said earlier, Tom, he really hasn't. He's been absent for the last 18 months. Like he was quality. I mean, in the Emirates era, I'd put him somewhere between Van Persie and Alexis, just for that electric period he had. He's good striker, very good. Sad. It's very sad that it ended this way, but I'm sure Arteta had his reasons. I'm not entirely sure Arteta planned for it to go this way, to get rid of him and for us to be left so short, and I'm sure we were trying to get.
He was wholly responsible, wasn't he, for pushing the contract? He wanted him there. He was going to build a team around him. So
something serious must have happened, because we're weaker, aren't we? There's no two ways about it. We're weaker without him. Even this version of Aubameyang that we've had, we were stronger with him. So we are desperately short, but something must have happened, and I'm sure one day it will come out. But not a legend for me. I mean, there are very few club legends that have played for the club at the Emirates. For me personally, there aren't many recently that you would put alongside your Ian Wrights, your Thierry Henrys, your Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira level. Going further back, Liam Brady, that kind of level. Probably maybe Fabregas was right up there. But no, not for me. Not a legend for me.
Let's go through the transfer rumours. The strongest rumour is Calvert-Lewin, who continues to be linked with the Gunners, 60 million. The most imaginative rumour is that we're going for Haaland and Mbappe, which are... Well, there might be a bit of truth with Haaland. At least he's kind of teammates with Odegaard, so he might be whispering in his ear, but he'll have to put his hand in his pocket as well. And I thought the worst rumour was that Arsenal were interested in Koscielny, which never again, surely. And I actually said to someone and wound someone up, because I said he was in a shit defence and he was quite a good defender. But would he be in the invincible side? And would he be in that famous back four? Would Lauren Koscielny get in there? For me, no way. He's, he's not a Sol Campbell or someone like that.
No way.
So we might still be in the mood for a bit of Neves from Wolves. What's your thought on that? I've kind of gone off the idea. I was up for Neves, but I've kind of talked myself out of it. Mitch?
I'm the opposite. When we were linked to him in the summer, I wasn't a huge fan of the deal. He just didn't really excite me very much. As the possibility of him replacing Granit Xhaka, I would be all over the idea. I think he is a fantastic player, especially for what we're clearly shifting towards in our midfield shape. I think he fills that left 8 role way better than Xhaka does. He's 24, a lot younger, and is really well proven and in a really impressive Wolves side this season. Bruno Lage has done a great job with that team. I'm not exactly looking forward to these 2 matches that we have against them because they're very good. These won't be walks in the park. And I think he would be an outstanding signing. I think he would be fantastic. My first choice was Bruno Guimaraes for a long time. That obviously is not going to happen as he's gone to Newcastle. And I would not complain at all about Ruben Neves. I think he's a perfect all-rounder, which is what we need at that left 8 position. If Arteta sees Partey as our 6, as a defensive midfielder, and that's where he is, and then Odegaard is the right 8. We need someone who is just as comfortable going forward and as they are defending, and I think Neves fits that perfectly. He would be a great player for that role.
Right, running out of time. Ted Gibbs has asked to ask you: will Saliba ever come back on board, or do you think they're selling?
No, he'll come back. He'll come
Absolutely.
back. He'll be part of the team next year, and you'll see the 2 we've got now. Saliba, the 3 will rotate, and I'm sure Rob Holding will still be around as well. So they're good 4 central defenders. Saliba, for all of the ups and downs, he's done well at Marseille. He's playing really well and getting rave reviews. And he has to come back. He has to be integrated into the side. He's a great player. Well, he seems a top player. And he's definitely earned his spot now. No doubt.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing him come back and mixing with the boys that we've got. That'll be a bonus, won't it?
Yeah, he's fantastic. I can't wait for him to come back. And there's no reason why we'll be in Europe next season. There's going to be more matches. There's no reason why he can't rotate in or even take a starting spot from White or Gabriel, depending on how well any of the 3 of them play. Putting pressure on each other is a good thing, and it's good for the team.
Guys, we've run out of time. We're on the clock. So thanks very much for your time again. And we'll see you in the next one. Wolves next. Let's hope. Keep everything crossed. Keep legs crossed and anything else you can cross. Okay. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.